I'm going to start out by saying this. I am autistic. In other words, I have autism. I've only been diagnosed fairly recently, but I'd known well before my diagnosis that I was on the spectrum. I've been autistic for my entire life, despite not being diagnosed until now. Looking back on it now, it shows. I was bullied as a kid. Not for being autistic, due to my lack of an official diagnosis, but for expressing autistic traits. Behaving differently, not being able to stand textures, repeating words, talking louder than everyone else, being obsessed with topics I liked. Thinking back on it, I was bullied pretty severely for all of these traits. But do you know what? If I went back and asked all of those kids today if they bullied me because I was autistic, they would say no. They would never bully someone for that stupid of a reason, of course not. But they still did. They hated the autistic, not the autism itself, because of how people will react to someone openly stating that they hate disabled people, while still approving when they turn around and mock the same traits in others. This kind of thinking that being autistic or having autistic traits is inherently bad or undesirable, but not the label of autistic itself, is precisely the reason why using the words autistic and retarded are so harmful to disabled people. People joke back and forth about how something was so retarded, about someone was acting autistic, and then immediately clam up when they're faced with an actual autistic person calling them out. It's slowly but surely becoming more and more of a taboo, as it should be, to mock people for a disability. People who make these kinds of ableist comments may tell themselves that they would never do something so horrible, but deep inside, they see autism as a disease, causing someone to be broken, weird, or an outcast. My point is that you may not be hurting an autistic person directly, but showing autistic traits as weird or disgusting does hurt us by perpetuating this kind of thinking. Ever since I was diagnosed, I've felt so free to be myself for once. I'm relatively high functioning, meaning that I can pass as neurotypical in most situations, and have never really had a reason to stammer, infodump, or do any of the things that come naturally to me. At first, I thought it was just a fake, too high functioning to be considered autistic, but then I remembered being a kid and being exposed to the idea that all those things were bad and impolite and not normal. So through negative reinforcement, I grew out of these habits as I grew older. The only reason I showed them more as a child was because I just didn't know any better. I was oblivious to the concept that what I was, who I was seen as broken or abnormal. Since my diagnosis, I've felt so incredibly free. There's never been anything wrong with me. I was just being myself. Finally being able to act like I feel is so amazingly liberating. Not having to worry about being gross or weird doesn't bother me anymore because I know that I'm perfect. Autistic people aren't broken. I'm not broken. And it's sad how long it took me to realize that. Society ingrains into an autistic child's head that these natural traits and actions are wrong, so the child suppresses them as to blend in with the neurotypicals. Then people turn around and say that no, autism itself isn't bad, being autistic isn't bad, they would never hate someone for a disability. What they don't realize is how damning and hypocritical these words actually are. Saying this is showing how badly they're trying to save face and look like a decent person. Autism is the autistic traits, the weirdness, the abnormality. As soon as a child is given the label of autistic, suddenly no one wants to bully them. What about the undiagnosed kids? The kids like me who were just acting naturally and were punished for something that was just them. I felt so trapped for years, thinking that my social ineptitude and inability to act as others did was a flaw, but realizing that it wasn't, it was amazing. I shouldn't have had to feel that way in the first place. Whether a person is branded as autistic or not, these traits should be celebrated, not vilified. Autism should not be vilified. Even if you mean no harm, using words like autistic and retarded as insults continues the cycle of hatred towards disabled people endlessly. You may not be the type of person to actually go out and hurt a disabled person for the fun of it, but you're validating the people that do. Just a quick Google search shows thousands of cases where the guardian of a disabled person killed their charge out of rage or frustration. Most of the time, these people were autistic. These killers who were supposed to care for that autistic person they were so fed up with their autism, with having to deal with their abnormality, that they took an innocent life. Using autistic and retarded as insults essentially tells that killer that what they did was good and acceptable because autism is disgusting. I'm not doing that, you say. I would never approve of something like that. But you are. Imagine what that killer would feel coming across someone equating autism to brain cancer. How validated they would feel knowing that other people agree with them. You may think that these words are harmless, but everything adds up eventually. Well, you are hating on the autistic traits from afar, but not the autism itself, as you would get attacked for it. Another person is. Implying that these traits are disgusting reaffirms every horrible murderer's actions against autistics. You might not mean anything by it, but they do. Your actions are telling these potential murderers that they are right, encouraging them to hate disabled people and even hurt us. I am rambling a lot now, but please take everything I said into consideration the next time you want to call someone retarded or tease someone for flapping their hands when they get excited. And all the fellow autistic people out there, know that I love you. We're not broken. We're not disgusting. We're beautiful and perfect and amazing human beings. Anyone who tries to tell us otherwise because we're autistic is an ignorant, ableist asshole. In the description below, I provided some links to resources on learning about autism that were made by autistic people, and charities you can donate to support autistic people. You'll notice that none of them go to the Autism Speaks website, which I provided the reasons for below in another link. That's another video for another day. Love you guys. I'll talk to you again soon.